Welcome to the Coaches Show. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. Have a couple of special guests here today. We've got Coach Matt Kriesky, head football coach at Centennial High School, Coach Alex Melton, Franklin High School. Gentlemen, appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Tonight's WCTV Game of the Week, they're always big ones. They're always WCS games. It's a region game number 3. But it's also pretty special because it's the annual Battle of Franklin. We'll start with you, Coach Melton. I'm sure that the students and community are particularly fired up for this one.
They are. They're excited. I mean, anytime. Number one, it's a region game, but like you said, it's the Battle of Franklin, so it's a big game. Kids are excited. Community's excited, so it'll be fun.
Coach Kriesky?
Yeah, just echo what he just said. It's a huge game. Both communities really get into it. You know, as you look at our guys and our team, there's a lot of our parents who went to Franklin High School. Now their kids are going to Centennial, so it's a huge game. You know, and I know it's going to be a great atmosphere tonight, and you know, it's going to be good for the kids.
Coach Melton, let's start with this one with you because it's a little different for you because it's a home game. It's a home game. It's homecoming. You know, lots of things going on. Talk about, you know, how you handle some of those roadblocks. I'm sure you've got players that are, hey, Coach, I need to leave early and I want to work on the float. And how do you handle that stuff?
That hadn't been an issue. I mean, they hadn't left early for that. They do all that after.
Right.
You know, but there's a lot going on, and it's good for the kids. You know, homecomings is a big part of high school for all of them, and the, you know, obviously the players are a part of that. But we've got to limit distractions. We've got a big game. They know where their focus is. Homecoming's all around the football game. I mean, it's based around that.
Right.
And so it's a lot better when you're able to perform at a high level on your homecoming day, and they understand that and know that. And we've just got to be disciplined. You know, they know what expectations are, and be smart that day, Friday with the parade and all that stuff going on, and make sure we conserve our energy, that we're doing what we're supposed to do to take care of the task in hand.
Coach Kriesky, obviously you would love to be playing at home, but when you start thinking about things like it's homecoming and we've got parades and that kind of stuff, there's probably some you can take from, okay, at least I don't have to deal with that part.
Yeah, you're right about that. I'm probably not the best one when it comes to homecoming and things like that. But you know, again, I know the kids when that whistle blows at 7 o'clock, that all that stuff goes out the window. All they're thinking about it, they're facing Centennial, and they're going to be. I know Coach Melton and his staff do a great job. They're going to have these guys prepared and ready to go. So you really, as we face them, we really don't look at that, you know, as an advantage because, you know, again, you throw the records, you throw everything out the window when you get involved in this game, because this is Centennial Community versus Franklin Community, Battle of Franklin. It's huge, and I know that it's both sides are going to be up and ready to go Friday night.
Let me ask you guys how you handle this. Do you acknowledge that this one might feel a little different to the kids, or Coach Melton, do you just say, hey, it's another one, let's do the same thing? I know there's always going to be an element of that, but do you address that? Hey, I know it's Centennial, I know it's important, we're giving a helmet out after the game. Does that get brought up, or you just say, let's treat it all exactly the same?
Well, I mean, they know. I mean, you know,
you're not going to fool
we talk about no. I mean, and they know it's a lot of these kids know each other. They've grown up together. Some of them went to the same schools together and stuff. So you don't have to talk about it much. But they know. I mean, so you can't hide it, right?
Right.
So it's something they know and are aware of. And yeah, you talk about it and bring it up. But again, it's a region game. They're just a little bit closer, you know, if that makes sense. And they know each other probably a little bit better than some of the other guys on the other teams and stuff like that. So it's a good rivalry. There's no bad blood there. It's just I think all the kids kind of like each other and get along. It's just they want to beat us, we want to beat them. You know, it's just that type of competition, which is what competition is.
Coach Kriesky, same kind of approach?
Yeah, I mean, just like he said, you know, it's a region game. You know, when I first came to Williamson County, got to Centennial, we were not in the same region, so it was a little bit. I felt like it was a little bit different. But as you know, you've got to win if you want to get to that 11th game. You've got to win region game, and tonight's going to be it's huge. You know, whoever walks away, you know, has a chance for that 11th game. So it's huge, and that's what our main focus has been. You know, our goal all year is trying to get that 11th game, and that's been our focus this week. It'll help us take that next step if we're able to do what we're capable of doing tonight.
Coach Melton, I want to ask you, if you guys don't feel comfortable answering this, don't, but maybe this is just me. One of the things I noticed here when I was coaching, I felt like there was this, we know each other, and at sometimes I thought, it seems a little too friendly. That's like the competition, man. Let's be a little more angry. I see the NFL guys switching jerseys after the game. I don't get it. Like, you just beat me. I'm a little bit mad. I'm going to shake your hand and do all that kind of stuff, but I don't want to hang.
Yeah.
Is that do you feel that at all, or is that just me?
I don't think it's that way. I mean, they want to win bad, so do we. I don't think,
Yeah.
But it's not a hate thing. It's just a competition thing.
Yeah.
I mean, which is the way it should be, right?
Right.
I don't think it's, we're going to hug and all that after and all that stuff. I like Coach Kriesky, but we may hug, bro hug at the end. But it's I think it's good competition, and if I'm competing against my brother, I got two brothers, so I'm competing against one of them. I want to beat them.
Probably even more, right?
That's right. That's correct. It's kind of that type thing. I think just being in the same community. The schools are so close. The middle schools are close to feeder schools and all that stuff. So, I just think it's like, competing against somebody in your family type deal. It's just you want to beat them, but it's not because you don't like them. It's just because you're competitive. You hope your kids are competitive no matter what.
Right. So, Coach Kriesky, let me ask you this way. So, if we could do it, obviously we don't do it, but you got the Battle of Franklin or whatever game, and maybe you come up on the short end, and you look out there, and you've got a player switching jerseys with somebody. Would that not? I'm telling you, when I see that, it drives me nuts. And maybe it's just me.
It'd probably drive me, a little bit, but crazy, but. I've been involved in this game. This is my 7th one, and I know after each one of them, either we won or lost, you see them talking. And then that's the entire, when you play people in Williamson County, they got buddies on the opponents. So we're so close together, and I believe, our group of coaches is, I think, a little bit different than Rutherford County. Like, we're kind of close.
Yeah.
We speak, And so, again, like you said, we all want to win. But at the end of the day, if the next week Coach Melton called me and asked me, to help him out with some film or asked me some questions about another opponent, I'm going to help him out, do what I can, because it's always good. We always want to see teams in Williamson County win, and we compete hard on Friday night, but the next day or the next week, we're going to talk and help each other out and see what we can do to make sure, helping each other out and helping each other's program out, and how can we, just be there for each other.
Well, that's very well said. And I don't want to give anybody the impression I want people to be angry at one another. I just feel like maybe at sometimes, and I'm not saying in our games, but I do see with sports now, I just can remember as a kid even as my brother.
Yeah. Right.
I don't have brothers, but I'd be more mad. Like I was like, dang, my dang brother just beat me. I don't even want to speak to that guy till tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to worry about that, because I get a daily text from John Wild. So he's sending me records, sending me all kinds of things. That's happened the past 7 years. So he's the one poking. It has nothing to do with Coach Melton. It's John Wild.
That's fantastic. All right, let's talk about this rivalry a little bit. So it dates back to '97. One of the things that we talked about before the show was how there's been streaks. At the beginning of this, when Centennial first opened, Franklin won the first 15. That was from '97 to 2011. But since then, Centennial actually holds a 6-5 lead, but it's been in streaks. We had a time where Centennial won 4 straight, then Franklin won 3 straight, and then Centennial breaks that streak last year. Something else I thought was interesting. Now, obviously, you've been in different classes some years too, but there's only been one playoff game. Centennial won that one in 2012. The teams had played the last week of the season, and then they turned right back around and played the first round of the playoffs. Again, you guys weren't involved in those, but I thought that was fascinating looking at it. But talk about what a challenge that might have been, Coach Melton, if you play a team last week. It happens, I think, in basketball and maybe baseball, but there's so many games. Mm-hmm. You guys only have 10. If you had to play a team week 10 and then play them the first round, I don't even know how that happened, but I guess the way we've got it set up now, it's not even possible. Yeah. But that would be tough.
It is tough. It's tough to beat a team or play a team twice anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
but back-to-back weeks.
Right, and make it even more difficult because you got a better idea of tendencies and things like that. They know what you're going to do. You've got film and stuff until you play them, see what adjustments they make versus you. So it definitely would make it tough to beat somebody or play somebody back-to-back.
Yeah, glad we don't do that.
No, it's tough enough in our region. You're going to play probably match up with somebody that you've already played the second week of the playoffs. You get there, and that's always tough. So I couldn't imagine playing them week 10 and turn around and play them in the first round of the playoffs.
Coach Kriesky 3-3 in this series. This will be Game 7. Coach Melton 0-1 after last year's 34-7 Centennial win at Centennial. Let me ask you this, Coach Melton, because it was kind of a year first year's head coach at Franklin. Was this game, did it feel a little bit different than the other WCS games even? I mean, I know they're all so hyped up. That's the beauty of playing here, is that all the games probably feel like a rivalry. But was this one a tad different being Franklin Centennial?
I can't remember to tell you. I mean, like you said, a region game in the county, we play a lot of county teams. I mean, they're all hyped up. Again, I think, if it is a little different, it's because of the proximity of the schools and same community, drawn from the same community, and the zones are so close and that type of stuff. A lot of kids, like I said, have gone to school together and grown up together, being this close together. So that might be a little bit of a difference, but obviously it's what we've said, it's a region game, and in Williamson County, it's important, and it means a lot to the kids and the fans and the student sections and all that. So.
And Coach Kriesky, this is number 7 for you. Have you noticed that with your kids, the parents, just the week, it's a tad different than the other ones?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit. Just again, like he said, the region game, but also we have so many parents that went to Franklin High School now. Their kids go to Centennial, so it's a little bit different, I'd say, from our perspective and from our group of kids, and it's. They were like, our community really gets into this game and gets behind it.
Well, and it may be something to do with the growth in WCS, but I think and the Franklin people would tell you this, if you went back before Centennial existed, current day Centennial sort of looks like past Franklin in terms of who went to school there, where they live. So it's interesting you say that, because I've met a lot of those people. Hey, we're Centennial people. Went to Franklin. We're Centennial people now. It's almost like current Franklin's not really like old Franklin.
Yeah.
Does it feel like maybe that way too, Coach Kriesky, in talking to your folks?
It does. It really does, because like you said, you say we got Tanner Lee. You say Lee's. I know there was a lot of Lees that went through Franklin High School. So that's seeing the old Franklin, and like you said, the new way Centennial is. It's got that feel to it, like you mentioned.
Well, and it is awesome how everybody does want to win, but that getting along part of it is kind of cool, and people recognize the history of the game, and hey, it is a game, right? I mean, we're trying to win, and livelihoods are based on it, but when it comes down to it, it's a game that should be enjoyed. Let's talk a little bit about last week's game. Coach Kriesky, your team with a very comfortable 24-0 win over Dickson County. I know there were some parts of that game that you weren't totally happy with, but you have to be real happy with the shutout for your defense. I mean, come on, that's a great performance.
Yes, that's one of the things, stress, defense, executing, playing well. They did it. They did a great job. I feel like we could have done some other things to really help us out. I feel like we dropped a couple of interceptions that could have really put the game away really earlier than what it was. Like you said, offensively, again, we mentioned, it's not a Williamson County game, so, we've got to find ways. We're traveling to Dixon, had to warm up on the practice field, so I was trying to find ways to get the kids excited and get them going. We started out, we drove the ball down, and then we fumbled like on the 3-yard line. We offensively, I thought we played well at times. We just didn't finish our drives, didn't execute the entire game like I thought we should have. So we're spending all this we spent this week just correcting our mistakes and getting better and really harping on finishing drives, executing for tonight's game.
It's funny, Coach Kriesky, how we're all like this as coaches. Wherever we're at with the season or team, there's going to be things we want to do better. Think about, you're 5-1. 2 or 3 years ago, you would have said, hey, man, we'll take 4 wins, whatever we can get. But as your team's gotten better, you're raising that expectation with them, right?
Yes, sir. You cannot get complacent. Each week we've got to get better. And I think our seniors have done a really good job pushing the group. Our front 5, they're all seniors. And I can't say enough about our offensive linemen and what they've done this year and how they lead this group. And they would want us to run the ball every single play and then not throw it at all. That's the kind of guys they are. They're fun to be around, fun to coach, and it's fun just watching them lead this team.
Well, and Coach, I know this, and we're not really looking at this point, but I know there's been some conversations. There's a chance maybe you move down in class with your numbers that are turned in, but I'm wondering this, and this is why I'm asking you. I know how it is with scheduling with you guys. Y'all do the 2-year schedules, and I bet you're having a little harder time and some conversations are, well, I don't know if we can play or not. Is that happening to you a little bit more?
Yes, and again, we got to wait and figure out, where we're going to be. If we're not in 5A, I've already talked to Paul in Nolensville, picking them up, Coach Rathbone at Page, because I've noticed, the kids get excited playing the Williamson County team or somebody close by. And so that brings extra excitement, and you like the good crowds, the atmosphere that the Williamson County communities do on Friday nights. It's a neat atmosphere. So if we can, wherever we are, if we happen to drop down to 5A, I'd like to still schedule, the teams that we played that were in our region this year, to keep it up. Because it's good competition to help you get better each week.
Well, and I love that about you. And Coach Melton, we've talked about, you're the same way.
Yes, sir.
You love those WCS games. You're not trying to get rid of Page off the schedule. Like, no, we can work it out. Yeah. Let's play those games, right?
I think it's good for everybody. It makes you a better coach, makes the kids better players. The competition, the student sections are great. Everybody loves the atmosphere is great. So I think it's just good for high school football and high school experience for all the kids, not just the football guys, but for the school.
No doubt. And I appreciate that you guys have that attitude about it. I know our fans appreciate that too. Let's talk a little bit about your game, Coach Melton. You go on the road, 35-14 loss to McGavick, something that you've mentioned with your team. It's important for any team, but particular, your team, you're younger in some spots. You've talked a lot about we can't turn it over.
Yes.
3 turnovers for 20 points, I think is right. And you look there's a difference in the game.
It didn't help, right? I mean,
yeah. You're going to turn it over some, right?
Yes, sir. And we love our kids, but there's very little room for error for us.
Yeah.
And definitely can't have, turnovers that lead directly to turnovers in general. But last 3 weeks, I think we've had 6. 3 of those have led 6 or more, but 3 of them have led directly to touchdowns, like scoop and score, 2 pick sixes. So that obviously doesn't help you, put you in bind. The kids have done a great job for the most part of fighting back, trying to dig out of that hole.
Yep.
We weren't able to last week, to get as close last week, with some things, but there's not a lot of room for error for us. So yeah, turnovers, just a alignment issue that hurt us on a 4th and short early in the game that could have helped with some momentum going in. We didn't get that. So but we've just got to keep working on it. Keep working on those things, eliminate those turnovers, create more. We've got to create more defensively. Penalties and things like that. We have a hard time overcoming some penalties sometimes. So we've just got to keep working on those things for the guys.
Talk about the continued development of Brewer Wilson. I know he's a guy we've talked about, 22 of 39, 220 yards last week. Rocco Panea has a good game with 2 rushing touchdowns. It seems to me you're getting some different names, though, that we're seeing show up, which is good. It can't be just the same guys every week, but in particular, it seems like Brewer's a guy we talk about a lot, keeps playing better. He's a young fella, but he's getting better.
He's done a great job. I mean, a couple interceptions here recently, but that, he's such just an even keel type of kid as a sophomore. He's just he doesn't get too shook up about anything. He's done a great job really of managing the game and making good decisions. A couple things we got to work on here the last couple of weeks, or from the last couple of weeks. But I mean, it doesn't. If he makes a mistake, it doesn't bother him. He learns from it, moves on. If he makes a great play, he gets excited about it. But he doesn't let that affect the rest of it.
Yeah,
he's been really good. Good thing is he's young and he's learning. Will continue to do that. But he's just a winner. He's a great leader. Not a really vocal guy, but he leads by how he works and how he does and how he carries himself, which is good. So, Rocco obviously had a good game. So we've got some guys, had to move a little bit here and there, trying to find the right combination and whatever to make it all work. But we've got all of our guys, seniors have done a great job of just, continuing to come back every Monday for them and coming back to work and things like that. So it's been good.
Well, I know you're proud of that because let's face it, for anybody, coach, players, you don't get what you want, which ultimately what you want is winning. Right. When that doesn't happen, it can be tough. But certainly, I think about it. I know we had this conversation a few years ago, Coach Kriesky. We looked at, I think we were talking about Summit, and when you were obviously there at Summit. The 0-10 year, and then you fast forward and you're in the state championship game and you win it, and then you're back in that game the next year. Your guys that are sophomores right now, I got a feeling they're going to look back and go, hey, those tough times made it pretty exciting right now. I see that's where your team's heading, and Coach Kriesky, your seniors have lived that, right?
Yes, and like you said, Summit going 0-10. We were these seniors were as sophomores were 3-7. Last year came off a 6-4 season, and then as we're progressing this year, hopefully, again, like I mentioned, our goal has been to get to that 11th game this year, and so you see them grow, when they get a lot of playing time as a sophomore, and then by their senior year, really, because you don't really like, especially in this league, don't really like throwing a lot of sophomores in. It's tough. You have to be special as a sophomore to really play and compete at the level you need to in this region. So throwing them in the fire is something I know a lot of coaches in this region don't like doing, but sometimes you have to, and it is what it is. But you'll see them, and you watch Franklin on tape. I mean, they fight, and they get after it week after week, and there's no quit in them. And so you see the improvement that they're making. They're like you mentioned, they're a play here or there that could be a totally different season for them.
And Coach Melton, you guys are both great about this, and I think all our coaches, you'd never make excuses. But when you're talking about 6A, and you're talking about playing those younger guys like Coach Kriesky talked about, in some other sports, look, I'm a sophomore, I don't have experience, but your game's such a physical game. Mm-hmm. That's a tough row to hoe now for some younger bodies playing in 6A especially. Now, if we're talking about Class 2A, Class 3A, maybe not as tough, but when you're in 6A, this is big boy. And you're having to face those big physical, in a lot of cases in our league, Power 5 kind of bodies. That's tough for a sophomore. Not to make excuses, but it's tough.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not. It's just the reality of it. I mean, it's a physical game, physical region. Our non-region has been physical. We're Riverdale, Stewart's Creek. As a team that's better than their record, they're physical. In all of our non-region games, McGavock, all of our non-region games, Page, Nolensville will be. I mean, and we don't talk about our youth. I mean, it is what it is. But I'm telling you now, our seniors, we've got several seniors, and they've been great. They're great. We don't want to overlook them because they lead. They have led this group, and they are the ones that keep coming back. And these sophomores are watching them to keep working no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, you can fight or you can quit, and they keep fighting. And there's two things you can look at. You can look at a record on a sheet of paper, or you can watch film. Mm-hmm. We continue to watch film. We tell them they are what they put on film, and we like what they're putting on film. We've just got to clean up some things.
Yeah.
And that's our focus is what we're putting on film. That's what we show them. We can't worry about, results are results. We're working like crazy to change results.
Yeah, that's obvious. So. It really is. Looking at standings in the region, obviously this is a big one. Any region game's important. We've got Independence and Ravenwood both sitting at 2-0. Brentwood Centennial 1-1. Franklin Summit 0-2. You guys talk about this. In the past, and this is throwing no shade at Dixon, but it's a reality. We all kind of knew that was a win. And we got to win that one, and we got to win one more, and we're a playoff team. Now, you got to win a couple of these. So this game for several years, Coach Kriesky, who won this game was the playoff team. Well, now it's probably this one and another one. So that's made it even tougher. Wouldn't you agree, Coach?
Yes, sir. Once you took Dixon out and inserted Summit, it's made the region even tougher. That's why pretty much every region game is almost like a playoff game. You've got to win it and make sure you get in. You want to win. If you win at least three region games, you're for sure in. 2 can probably get you in, but you don't know with the way the region is and how tough competition week in and week out. So you don't know what's going to happen. But it's going to be tough tonight, and hopefully our guys will be ready.
Coach Melton, and again, I know you guys don't spend a lot of time looking at other regions, but you look at Rutherford, for example. Oakland has been, they've been the team the past few years. But when you're talking top to bottom, to me, I think we're like the SEC here. There's just no week off here ever.
It's tough every week. It makes for a great atmosphere, and in great competition for our kids. Like I said earlier, I think it makes everybody better when you're having to play that. And so I don't. But it's a great region. Rutherford County's got a great region. There's just Middle Tennessee in general, in my opinion, has great football. I mean, you just look around, and so it just I think it makes everybody better, and it's exciting to be a part of.
Coach, let's talk a little offense, Coach Kriesky. Brendan Jones, to me, he's a young man, and I know he's played some quarterback for you before, but in a way, it wasn't just him, right? It wasn't just his job. It's his job. He's waited his turn. He's a great young man. He's stepped up for you and been a really nice leader.
Yeah, he's done great. I think this is, he played a lot as a sophomore, played some last year, quarterback, but this year I think this, out of, all 3 years, this is the most comfortable he's felt. He's doing everything we're asking him to do. So he's leading. He doesn't get, he shows very little emotion, even the good and the bad. He's a quiet kid. He leads by example. I think his reads have gotten a lot better. And just his knowledge of the game of football. And he's done a great job, getting the ball out this year. And so, and also doesn't hurt having Tanner Lee back there being able to, run the ball like he's capable of doing. And like I mentioned earlier, our guys up front executing and doing everything we ask them to do. But Brendan has done a great job this year for us. And
on the defensive side of the ball, Coach, I went back and looked at this, only giving up 12 points a game. You got to be pleased with that side of the ball, too.
Yes, sir. We've got a great group of guys working on the defense side of the ball. Defensive lines led by Keegan Scruggs. He's done a great job this year for us. Our two inside linebackers, Caleb Workman, Matthew Rowan, have done great. And then also Dylan Bruton spills them when needed. Secondary, we've got Kenai Johnson at corner, but one of the surprise guys this year in the secondary for us has been Dominic Reed. He's really adjusted to the game of football. As you know, he's a really good basketball player for Coach Moore, and for him to really buy in and stick football out, we're really glad. And the year that he's having, what he able, to do on the basketball court and also on the football field. And I can't say enough about Coach Moore just really pushing him because I know he, throughout the summer and throughout the spring, he had some thoughts, maybe just sticking, with basketball. And Coach Moore really pushed him and made him realize, you're only in high school once. You play as much as sports as you can. So that's been huge. And for his game to translate, what he's done on the field has been really great for us.
Well, and Coach Kriesky, you're certainly a guy, and I know Coach Melton as well, that you're really do it all. Mm-hmm. If you want to play one, play one. You want to play three, do that too. And it's nice to see when the adults don't get in the way.
Yes.
Because sometimes, let's face it, the grown-ups are the ones that mess it up.
They are. They're only in high school once. Let them play as much as they can because, after you leave high school, there's very few guys that are going to play at the college level. So when you put the football pads away, they're usually gone forever. You don't get another chance to play. There's nothing against basketball, baseball, but you can pick a basketball up and shoot as you get older, but you can't put on full gear and go out and hit somebody without getting hurt, probably.
Unless you're in the Fairview
alumni game, yeah.
Which I don't know how we're getting away with that, by the way. But we're going to let it ride.
Yeah.
We're going to let it ride, but that's kind of interesting. Hey, let's talk about your team, Coach Melton. We talked about offensively, the play of Brewer. You got some other guys stepping up and contributing. And you look at your defense because let's face it, you look at last week with those turnovers, you see that you give up 35 points, but a lot of that's not on the defense. Your defense has played pretty well at times, in particular, if you look at you in the first half. I think that depth maybe at times has shown up the second half, but there's been some bright spots for your defense for sure.
There has. They've been playing hard or whatever. Getting us late in the game is a big play. We got an opportunity to make a stop, to get the ball back to the offense, to maybe take the lead, tie the game. And we hadn't been able to do that late on some third downs and things. So, like I said, it's just half a fit here, half a fit there, just very little room for error for us. But they're playing hard, and we'll keep working on those things. But, yeah, they play well, and offense has played well at times too. I mean, we've had some things, some opportunities there, and then we get a penalty or something. We ran the ball well at times and controlled the clock, but just hadn't been able to finish as well sometimes as we want to, and that's offense and defense. Finishing on defense is getting off the field on third and fourth down, and late in games we haven't done that as well as we'd like.
Well, and I love what you talked about earlier that, the film, that's what we're looking at. It is what it is on the film. And I'm sure you feel this too. Forget the record. There's not a person I've talked to, and I know Coach Kriesky would agree with this. Your football team is a better football team than you were a year ago. And I think the film probably shows it.
Well, that's the goal each year, I think, right? I mean, is to keep working. You've got to be able to show the kids something. They've got to believe, and they do, and they can see it. How close it is at times and things like that. But I'm telling you, man, we love these kids. They just come back on Monday, regardless, and they just keep working. And that's all you can ask for those kids. They're going to get our best. We get theirs. You got to believe at some point we're going to change results for those kids, and that's what it's about.
Well, it's what coaching's all about, right? You coach sports for a long period of time, as most of us have. You're going to have the great ones and the middle level ones and the lower ones when you're talking about wins and losses. Gentlemen, I appreciate you being here. We're excited about the Battle of Franklin tonight, the WCTV game of the week. Certainly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for the Coaches Show. We'll see you next time.